This just in, you are looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people.
The United States is conducting an operation to kill Osama bin Laden.
Today, the World Health Organization officially announced that this is a global pandemic.
Many of you know the podcast. It's been many, many examples, but I'm going to use the latest example. Many of you know the podcast that came out concerning the police, and that things are just going to be crazy on January 1st, 2023, right? And it was fear mongering all over the place. It was fear mongering for supposed social media leaders. It was fear mongering from the politicians. It was fear mongering from just all these people grandstanding all over social media, everywhere you look. So it became so annoying that we came out with that podcast, right? Here. So the Discerning Eye News, Illinois Safety Act, right? Where criminals roam the streets, you decide, okay? And this was so powerful that some politicians actually used the material from here after the fact. The one person almost said word for word what I said on here. So I know they got it from my podcast, okay? But anyhow, people were fear mongering all over the place, right? And the information, most of you all seen this. So the information that was presented in there about the laws that have already passed already, that again was the reason why they were roaming the streets all, in 2020, summer 2020 through 2021, whatever. That's the reason why they were roaming the streets, breaking into all over the place, because the penalties were so far less that pretty much crime did pay. Okay. And people didn't know at that time. Even I did not know at that time. But the reason why is because these laws that I discussed in this particular podcast right here had already passed. Okay. So what everybody was fear mongering about that was going to take place January 1st, 2023 already happened. But the bulk of those laws had already passed like 2 years prior. It was only a few left. Just put some restrictions on the police a little bit. Those were the last few. So the bulk of them have already been passed already, right? So now what you're seeing all over social media, I'm sure you all are seeing it right now. People talking about the CBDCs, they're talking about Fed now, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's what's happening now. And it's so much fear mongering about it that it's like, okay, come on now. So you all gonna hear this tomorrow, but you all gonna get the prelude to it now. Okay. So if I were to ask you all right now, how many of you all use cash? I guarantee the majority of you all use cards majority of the time. It may be a holdout here, a holdout there who use cash all the time, but most of you all use your cards. Okay. I use my card most of the time too. It's very convenient. Okay. So with that, people talking about digital, you're already digital. You're using your card all the time. It's very convenient to use your card, right? And especially if something is wrong and the vendor or whatever may not make it right, hey, you could dispute it and so on and so forth. Okay. So the majority of people are already using their card. They're already digital. They're not touching cash at all. A lot of people these days, I would say the majority of people these days, due to compliance-based issues, okay, governmental compliance, making companies do certain things, or you will be fined or whatever it may be, a lot of people are get direct deposit, okay? So for your labor, instead of it being given to you in cash, because people used to get paid in cash, okay? Then it went to check, okay? And then you got your check and you either deposit in the bank account, or from that point, you use your check and go to a place and get cash. Then it has evolved into direct deposit. Okay. So now for your labor, these coins, these digital coins, digital money from the bank of your employer, is transferred from the bank of your employer to your bank and put into your account. Okay. So now your credits. This is like some dystopian movie where they talk about credits and stuff like that. So now you went up, let's say you get paid, $2,000 every 2 weeks or something like that. Okay. Now you got 2,000 more in credits. Okay. And then how do you spend your credits? You spend your credits typically with your debit card or credit card. That's how you spend your credits. That's the majority of people these days. Okay. So with that, okay, so most people are not touching cash at all. So you are completely already digitized. You are completely already tracked and traced. All your transactions could be tracked and traced within seconds. This is already taking place, for better or for worse. It's already taking place. Whether you're using just using your debit card, so that's directly to your bank, and you best to believe they are most definitely using algorithms to go through your purchases, to even just for advertisement purposes. Okay, so they're going through our purchases and things already. All right, so that's your bank. That's if you use PayPal. Okay, your Cash App. Okay, Venmo. These are all these things already. Now, some of these, I'm not going to pinpoint specifically which one, but some of these are much more nefarious than others. I know this firsthand, and I have proof of it. Okay, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. So now they're talking about, well, that's one of the major talking points with this whole CBDC and Fed now. Oh, they're going to track and trace you. They already do that to everybody anyway, and already have been doing that for a long time now, especially after 9/11 in the Patriot Act. Okay, number one, you all know how we go. Hit you with the facts, and you come to your own what the truth is for you. Okay, there's no truth until you decide what truth is. Right? So now let's go past that. So now this is so much, right? It's flooding through like a tsunami. It's hitting me hard right now. I got to take a sip of. Okay, so that's one of the fear-mongering points they like to say. Many of you know that in January and a little bit after that, 2 podcasts were put out. This one here, Watch Before 2023, Manifesting Secrets, Important Dates, Numerology. And the next one was 2 of them. Okay, this one right here. The most important date this year, watch now before YouTube removes, 777. These 2, both of these should have way more views than they have, but that's by design. Okay. Why? Why should they have more views? Is it to boost my ego? No. The reason why they should have more views is number one, even up to now, if you look at the dates that are presented, all type of catastrophes this year, all type of crazy events already this year have either landed directly on the day before, or the day after. Typically happen the day before, because landing on the day every single time would be, they have to do things a little bit, but they still want to harness the energy that's building up. And so typically they do it the day before. Okay. If you look at those dates yourself on there, you will see this for yourself. But not only that, what did I say in both of those podcasts? I said the most important day but most important month this year is July. Secondary is November. But the most important month is July. And I said that in that month, the most important day is 777. Right? Well, guess what? The precursor to the full-blown digital new world order, let's say, just digitized, everybody's digitized, is happening. They picked July to release it, to start it. They picked July. What's the odds of that? Okay. But hey, let's see where I see Fed now, July. Okay. So Federal Reserve announces July launch for the Fed now. Okay. Here it is right here. We're on the federalreserve.gov website. Press release. This was March 15, 2023. Federal Reserve announces July launch for Fed Now service. They watch what we do. You best believe, just like with the algorithms and everything else, they know who are the people who are really, really psychic here and who's playing around. Okay. And in that, based on even the seers and things they have, they correlate. Okay. And say, okay, let's do it this day. You know what I'm saying? This entity over here said certain energies, boom, bang, we verified the energies are going to be on point at that time. Let's do it at that time. Right? So that's the date they chose. Now, what did I say also with that date? I said that in that month period, even leading up to that month, even after that month. Okay. I said the most important thing is that, number one, understand that the nefarious forces are going to be using, if I put out anything, they're going to use it as well. And they don't sleep. Okay. Well, the best thing for people who are not part of these nefarious forces is to get together, is to build, is to create connections, and so on and so forth. Those who are ego obsessed, okay, ego obsessed, who just want more, well, who like some followers, they're going to follow what the governing algorithm says. If the governing algorithm says they would get, they could make $10,000 this month on YouTube if they talk about more fear-mongering topics like this, they're going to do that, regardless if they really should be talking about, hey, let's sing, let's dance, not twerking, not that kind of stuff, okay? But singing and dancing, truly bringing up the spirits of everyone, bridging connections and so on and so forth and everything else, right? That's what should be happening, and people will see a better day. So it tells me if I'm not seeing that to the high enough level, that means that people, that's another story in that regard, right? But it's another thing here, okay? There's an underbelly here. There's an undercurrent of negative energy, and why that you're hearing so much. You're hearing so much negativity about the CBDCs. Okay, you're hearing so much negativity about the Fed now and supposed future circumstances that's going to come about from this. And most of those are not coming from genuine places. Most of those are not coming from genuine places of heartfelt concern. Where those energies are coming from is cartels. Where those energies are coming from is from the black markets. Okay, not necessarily the underground markets. Now, of course, we talked about this before, about a week ago, 2 weeks ago on one of our calls here, but I'm gonna get to it again since this is I'm probably just gonna take this and turn this into the podcast itself. So I don't gotta, it's only so much time in a day, right? I'm trying to pump out so much for you all that it's just only so much time that I have. So remember what I mentioned before is that in my research, I break down things a little bit differently here, right? So I consider the black market different from the underground market. Okay. The black market, again, is what we consider all those nefarious types of things. Okay. The drug trade. Okay. The human trafficking trade, or using humans as some type of resource that the collective body of beings would not, if you just straight out say, we're going to say, for example, we're going to put these humans into slavery. Let's say the governing body, the collective of souls here would say, no, you should not do that. So I'm talking about all that kind of activity where people, if they just straight out were told this nefarious thing is happening, they would say, hell to the no. Okay. So all those, I put it under the black market. Then there's the underground market. Okay, the underground market are people who could be doing 100% positive things, but they did not go with the, whatever governing system was coming about. Okay, so let's say from totalitarian regimes, or let's say, for example, the last 2 years, it was the whole, you either get jabbed up or you can't work. Okay, that's how undergrounds are created, because there are people who saying, I'm not doing that. Why would I inject this literal poison into me? That doesn't make sense. So instead of me doing that, I'm gonna say I'm a good person. I'll gladly work for you, but I'm not doing that. So they end up working in some other fashion where they may create their own business or whatever it may be, and they accept cash only kind of thing. Okay, so that's the underground. All those places like that. Okay, I'm putting under the umbrella of the underground. Again, not illegal in the humanity sense. Okay, but not authorized by whatever that governing system is at the time. And then there's, again, the black market. Those are those things that pretty much are scum. Okay, that have to be hidden because of the dark things and deeds that they do. Okay. In that black market, there's cartels, there's all types of gangs. Okay. This is all types of nefarious, and these are not just entities that hide from the light. Some of these beings are on TV and things. Okay. So they are in the light as well, but these type of activities, even some governmental departments, for example, some call them the deep state, okay, will be in this black market kind of area. Okay. If all transactions are tracked and traced, now they already are tracked and traced now, remember that, right? But the difference is that there's still the ability to use cash. When you take cash out the picture, majority of regular people are still just going to go on living their life. That doesn't change for anybody here, or pretty much on this line here, including myself. That doesn't change pretty much anything. We still just go about. Now there are, I'm getting to here also some possible nefarious things that could come from it, but overall, looking at it from face value, if it stays exactly the way things are now, it's just the actual cash is no longer there. For the most part, it doesn't inconvenience most of us. But what it would inconvenience majorly is them, okay? The nefarious black market entities. Because now everything they do is tracked and traced. So how the heck are they going to move where money is measured not in actual even zeros per se, it's measured in how much it weighs. So they're moving tons of money, literally, and a ton equals this amount of currency, okay? That kind of thing. Right. So how are they going to then do what they do if everything is tracked and traced? You see, because there are forces here feel are violating the system. And so those are white hats. OK, and these white hats are hunting all day for those entities that are trying to get over on whatever the system says at that time. OK. So those are the ones who have a problem with it. Those are the ones who are putting forth, even paying some of these YouTube social influencers, right? So they're paying these cartels and things like that, are paying some of these social influencers to actually say these things and put out this content. Like, you don't want it, you don't want it, you don't want to know. The fact is that they don't want it. Now let's get into some aspects of it though. Now, what could happen from, and I don't got, none of my notes in front of me, anything like that. So this has been straight off the cuff here, just based on what I've been just perceiving, what I've been seeing on social media, and even some concerns of others. So what could come forth from it though? Could a nefarious regime who does not mean well, who just wants to control more and molest their citizens more by extracting more of their labor and so on and so forth, what could they do if everybody does go digital? Could you remember, really, when it comes to the cartels, they're selling drugs and things, right? The black market is nefarious. This black market, which I defined already, but I consider that, is not wanted really in any society. Again, that's different than the underground. I mean, the underground is not doing anything nefarious against humanity. Okay, they're just not going along whatever. They don't want things injected in them or whatever it may be, that anti-human governing policy. They're just not going for it. So they create a secondary society. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the black market people. Okay. So they don't mean well for any of us. Okay. They're selling, let's say, they're trying their best to sell our children drugs and everything else. Okay. So what could happen though, governmental wise? Okay. If nefarious entities are in control. So let's go into, let's say, a future a little bit and a certain timeline, and CBDCs are full effect. People as a whole are completely digital. Okay, there's no paper money anymore. Now, what would happen in that case? The black market is going to do its best to create some form of way to transact. Okay, and innovation is going to come more so from that end, because the underground market itself is going to innovate typically in a different way. The underground types of entities are going to innovate in a way of just trying to become more self-sustained, because they don't really care about money in the first place. A lot of them are of that mindset. Okay, and it's going to try to figure out a way to maintain and to transact, barter, and other related things the way they do. Okay, in which they have been doing even right now as well. Okay, because remember, a lot of them don't even have bank accounts or anything like that, because they have shunned the system itself probably before many of us were born. Okay. But the black market itself is where the innovation is going to come from, whether it be counterfeit chips, okay, or some type of mechanism of trade, which would be kind of similar to like trading with fiat money, okay, but it may be still digital, or it may not be. Okay, it may be actually still physical in some way. Okay, but they're going to most definitely innovate. It's some very, very smart people in all of these different sectors that I'm mentioning here, whether it be the main governmental body, whether it be the underground, okay, who are just people who are not going with the system. There's smart people over there too. And there's very smart people in the black markets too. Okay. And so so now let's say if it is a nefarious governing body who is controlling the CBDC space, okay, what can they do? Well, a few things they talked about. They could cut off your chip. Okay, if you are saying something that they don't like for whatever reason, they just cut your chip off. Okay, and guess what that means? Your CBDCs will be connected to everything. Okay, not just a lot of people are just looking at the currency aspect of it, but there's the healthcare aspect of it. There's your job aspect of it. There is the ability to transport yourself. For example, get on trains, buses, airplanes. Okay, all of this is that social credit connected internet of things, internet of bodies, technologies. Okay, so if your chip is cut off because you were outspoken, or because they don't like that you spent more time in a space that they couldn't monitor for some reason, okay, now your chip is cut off, maybe indefinitely, maybe for a period of time, until you until you come back to terms of what you really should be doing, okay, by pledging allegiance back to the system itself, right? And so what did that mean? If they cut off your chip, that means you can't travel. What if you are in another country? Okay, because of course you can only travel to authorized countries, of course. Okay, so you're in an authorized country, but your chip got cut off because they don't like a person that you talk to. Remember, everything's AI'd. That's the thing as well. Everything is run by artificial intelligence. It's looking through all cameras of the world at the same time. All of this data is being calculated, and so on and so forth. Okay, pre-crime and just all types of social medicine itself. I was gonna say socialized medicine, but not necessarily socialized medicine. It's medicine itself. All of that is calculated, and determinations are put forth, right? So let's give a scenario here again. You're in a country, a person or person's in a country. They talk to someone that maybe they don't want you talking to. Because of that, they're cutting off your chip for now. Okay, remember, there's no money. There's no physical money. Okay, because your chip is cut off, you can't even make a phone call anywhere, because your cell phone service is connected to your account. This is, say in this case, your FedNow account. Okay, and when they blocked you there, you can't use your cell phone. You can't call anyone. You can't even get into a bank. You can't get into any type of government facility because your account doesn't work. They don't know who you are. Okay, you can't travel back home. Remember, you would say are in Sweden. You are in Sweden, or you are in Morocco or Nigeria. But you live in America, right? You're trying to get back home, but your account has been locked. You can't even make a phone call. What are you going to do? You see? That's the kind of scenarios that could take place. It just goes deep. Many of you all's minds, many of you are very creative and imaginative. You could just think of 1,000 different scenarios why that's not a good thing if we go that route with it, okay? And would it eventually go that route? Most definitely. Why do I say that? Because it always goes that route. The people that are controlling society have shown that they are, whether they actually think they're doing the right things, or whether it's purposeful. Because it's two scenarios there. Either it's purposeful, purposeful malice, okay? Or number two, they actually do think they're doing the right thing, but it keeps just turning out bad, okay? So regardless of which way it is, that means it does not go well for any of us, okay? So that's what it is, right? So again, going back to, because so far we batting, Ed, for those who don't know, I forgot until you mentioned it yesterday, Ed was about to go pro, okay, in baseball. So we batting 10 for 10 here, okay, at this point when it comes to our revelations and everything else, right? So it's extremely important for people to come together, okay, people to sing, dance, do happy things, but then also potentially look to self-govern, Okay, focus on your local communities and so on and so forth, and then connecting with other communities, which build a network of self-reliance. And these things are well known. You know what I'm saying? Man, I got many plans of all this kind of stuff personally, so that's where humanity's salvation lies, which is by design. It's been trained that way. A lot of people have this savior complex. So it went from the current religions. Now it's into new age stuff, whether it be Palladians or whoever it be is going to save them. It went from one to the other. Okay. And some people have a very hard time saying the exact same thing a person of the Christian faith would say, or someone who is Muslim would say, or someone of this faith over there would say, right? But they say, no, it's not that, even though they pretty much are saying word for word, but now instead they're praising the Palladian, they're praising an Arcturian, they're praising a Gray, or they want to make a deal with the reptilians. You get what I'm saying? So as long as people keep wanting to do that kind of stuff, then, oh yeah, people are going to be CBDC'd.